What are the four main components of pranayama? Inhalation, exhalation, and that's where we get stuck. Most of the yoga practitioners, most of the pranayama practitioners are aware of the changes in the inhalation and exhalation which they do while practicing pranayama. For example, when we do Kapalbhati, we are forcing the exhalations a little more rapidly than the natural rhythm of our exhalation to bring about neurochemical changes in the body to get optimal health. But do we understand and do we know that the third and the fourth component, the kumbhak, the antarkumbhak and the bahykumbhak, are actually the most important part of the pranayama? The inhalation and the exhalation, the puraka and the rechaka, as it is known as, it is just a means to an end. It is not an end or a goal in itself. The goal or the end of pranayama is kumbhak. Kumbhak means holding of the breath or cessation of the breath. When there is a kumbhak after inhalation, when you hold the breath or there is a natural cessation of the breath after inhalation, it is known as antarkumbhak. Similarly, when you hold the breath after your exhalation, it is bahykumbhak. And it is very important for all practitioners to understand what is kumbhak and why it is important to do kumbhak. Why is it important to do kumbhak? Because at the time of kumbhak, at the stage where there is no movement of the breath in the body, the brain also starts to still down. The breath is still. In fact, there is no movement in the breath, so the mind also stills. There is thoughtlessness in the mind. And this thoughtless mind is a very powerful mind, because otherwise the mind is busy in engaging and processing all the thoughts which are bombarding in our mind all the time. So when we come to a stage with the practice of kumbhak that the mind is devoid of any thoughts, or there are very few or less thoughts, then the mind can actually tap to its true potential. It can tap into its true potential and a person can become much more focused, it can have much more concentration, it can have much more clarity. So practicing kumbhak in your pranayama is very important. Some of the practices in pranayama gives you a natural kumbhak. For example, when you do Kapalbhati, if you do certain rounds of Kapalbhati and then you just observe your breath, since the body has already taken in so much of oxygen, with the forceful exhalations, there is a vacuum created and a lot of oxygen comes in naturally. For a few seconds, the body does not require to breathe to get in that oxygen. And that is when there is a cessation of the breath or the kumbhak as we know it. At this point, if you observe, you will feel very calm, very relaxed, and there'll be a lot of clarity of thoughts. So kumbhak is actually very, very important. So some practices, as I mentioned just now, gives you a natural kumbhak, but in some practices, we actually have to put in a little effort to hold the breath. So how do we do the kumbhak and how do we take the practice further? How do we progress in our practice, in our kumbhak practice? Kumbhak should never be forced. You should not inhale and then force the breath to a point that you have to choke to get more breath. That is not good for your body. Just like any other pranayama practice, just as you start developing to improve or increase the length of your inhalation and exhalation with regular practice of pranayama, similarly kumbhak also has to be practiced slowly, steadily, and then you see the progress in kumbhak. What is one of the easiest ways to practice kumbhak? Inhalation, kumbhak, exhalation. It is always easy to do antarkumbhak than bahykumbhak. Again, there's a science behind it. When you inhale and hold the breath, already the body has a lot of oxygen, the body has breath, the body does not feel challenged, does not feel that it is not going to get oxygen and it might die. Your nervous system is wired to always protect you and always save you. So when you do antarkumbhak, since there is already breath inside, it is easier to do. But when you do bahykumbhak, you exhale out and then you try to hold the breath. There is a lot of challenge faced by the nervous system because the nervous system is tuned and wired to always protect you. Then the nervous system will start thinking, okay, this person is doing something which this person is not supposed to do. It is not safe. And then the nervous system will start creating a lot of havoc. That is why then a person struggles to do bahykumbhak. But with practice, one can do bahykumbhak also. So a safe practice is to start with antarkumbhak and then adopt bahykumbhak. So how do we practice this? So in your regular pranayama practice, once you have done all that you need to do, towards the end at least, you should do 1:1:1 breathing, which is say 5 seconds of inhalation, 5 seconds of holding the breath, 5 seconds of exhalation. And when you're holding the breath, don't force yourself to hold the breath. Don't tighten your body. Keep your body and your face relaxed. You breathe in slowly, deeply for 5 seconds. You hold the breath comfortably for 5 seconds, and then you breathe out for 5 seconds. In case your breath length is a little more longer, you've been practicing pranayam and you can easily breathe in for 8 seconds and breathe out for 8 seconds, then you can try and hold your breath also for 8 seconds. Again, if in the beginning 8 seconds of holding the breath is too long, you're not used to it, it's okay to do 6. But your goal and your target for the next few days would be to do in the ratio 1:1:1. Whether it is 5:5:5 or 6:6:6, 7:7:7, 8:8:8, or you can go up to 12 or 15 also. But whatever the length of your breath, it should be comfortable for you. You practice this for a few days, become very comfortable with this. Then what do? You start increasing the duration of the holding of the breath. So in case if you're breathing in for 5 seconds, now you can hold the breath for 10 seconds and then breathe out for 5 seconds. So you change the ratio to 1:2:1. Now maybe it is time for you to introduce Baya Kumbhak in your practice. So again you go back to the beginning and you start breathing 1:1:1:1 ratio. So you inhale, hold the breath, exhale, hold the breath. It can be 5 seconds, it can be more, or it can be less. You have to establish what is your comfortable duration of your inhalation, exhalation, and holding the breath. So if it is 5 seconds, it will be 5 inhale, 5 antar kumbhak, 5 exhale, 5 bahya kumbhak. Again, practice this for a few days. Once you become very comfortable in this, then you start making it 1:2:1:1. By now you know, when I say 1, it is inhalation, 2, it is kumbhak, 1 again, it is exhalation, 1 again, it is kumbhak. Then slowly you can again change it to 1:2:1:2. And then slowly you can make it 1:4:1:2. Whatever your duration of the breath. And each of these things, each of these rounds that we have talked about, you can do about 8, 10, 15 or even 20 rounds of this. And you will really feel the difference. So as I said, Kumbhak is very important and very beneficial to really clear your mind of all the cobwebs. You create space in the mind, in the brain. When you create space in the mind, you can attract more new things. There can be more clarity. Your decision making, your time management, all of these things will happen if you practice Kumbhak. In the body, what is the benefit? When you do Kumbhak, you hold the breath. And then when you breathe, when you release, when you exhale out, then there is a good blood circulation throughout your body, and it really helps. This good blood circulation helps in proper functioning of all the organs and all the glands in the body. So remember, whenever you do pranayam, it is also important to adopt and practice Kumbhak in your pranayam practice. It's a game changer actually. And those of you who know the bandhas, do the Kumbhak practice with the bandhas and you will see a lot of lightness in the body, a lot of strength in the body. So make sure that if you're practicing pranayam, it is not just focusing on the inhalation and the exhalation or the different ways you inhale and exhale, but also the Kumbhak. And after every round of whatever practice, whatever pranayam you're doing, just close your eyes and observe the effects of what you are doing. Observe, maybe there is a natural Kumbhak already happening, but you did not realize it yet. And that is one of the reasons why after the pranayam practice, we feel so calm, so relaxed, and there is a good clarity in our mind, in our brains. So please do practice Kumbhak in your pranayam practice, because Kumbhak is actually the main goal of every practitioner who practices pranayam. Cessation of the breath, so that there is cessation of the thoughts in the brain, and then we can actually do whatever we want to, we can achieve whatever we want, because then we can use this energy of the mind to take us wherever we want to go. Thank you.